am honestly kind of scandalized at myself that I haven't done this video sooner. Hey there, creepy peeps. I'm Nightmare Maven. Welcome back to my channel. If you happen to be new here, welcome. I talk about spooky movies, books, all spooky things all year round. So if you like this video, you should subscribe. Do yourself a favor. I'm pretty awesome. Like any good genre content, there's tropes that we love, tropes that we hate, and some that were never really good to begin with, to be honest. I'm gonna talk about the horror movie tropes that I love, the horror movie tropes that I don't love, and I'm gonna be a little crazy here and alternate. So I'm gonna share one trope that I love, then one trope that I hate, and go back and forth until the end of the video. I know, I'm a wild woman. Calm down, Vicky, oh my God. All right, so the first horror movie trope that I love is the creepy basement trope. It is my personal belief that there is absolutely nothing good about basements. Am I biased because I grew up in Florida and we don't have basements here? Yes. But am I wrong? No, I am not. Not a damn good thing has ever happened in a basement. If it's not completely finished and looks like this, I don't want to hear about it. And you may be wondering why I put this in the love column. Well, that's just because horror is all about being scared. So if I'm terrified of the trope, then it goes in the love column. All right, next one is a horror trope that I can happily live without, and that is the Indian burial ground trope. And honestly, I don't know that I really need to explain myself for this one. Although it is kind of accurate, the entirety of the continents of North and South America are technically burial grounds for indigenous peoples, thanks to that lovely thing called colonization. But making indigenous peoples the scary villain of horror movies, I don't know. I feel like let's just leave that in the past. And luckily there aren't really any modern examples of this trope anymore, so thank goodness for that. Another trope that I love and gets my stamp of approval is jump scares. I know, très controversial. When done well and used selectively, jump scares are still fun, and I stand by that. Some of the best jump scares come from the slow build of tension that just builds to a fever pitch and then takes advantage of the tension by cranking the stress hormones in our system. And then you get that sweet, sweet collective release of breath. Maybe a few people chuckle at themselves for getting scared, and you're reminded of the beauty that is sharing a horror experience in a darkened theater full of strangers. I did not expect that explanation to get so sappy. So let's shake off the sappiness with another trope that I hate and needs to die. And that is the hysterical woman trope. Women are too emotional and are not to be believed when they're telling the ever rational male character that something is wrong. This is just a tired and outdated trope that dates back to real life women being institutionalized for being hysterical. And because I'm a nerd about words, I will remind you that the term hysteria comes from the Latin term hystericus. Never took Latin, I don't know how it's said, but I know what it means, and it means of the womb. And it was believed for a ridiculously long time that hysteria was a dysfunction of the uterus, and therefore only those with a uterus could suffer from it. Which explains why so many of the damn examples of hysterical women in horror are pregnant women. It's infuriating, I hate this trope, and it needs to go away forever, thanks. And this trope is not to be confused with the unhinged woman trope, which I personally love. I just felt I needed to make that distinction because they are completely different. Okay, let's calm down a little bit from that trope and let's talk about one I love again. And it's kind of sort of an extension of the jump scare trope, but I feel like it deserves its own special recognition. And that is the medicine cabinet scare. And this trope comes with variations. You can have the door trope, which is seen in many different ways, but occasionally with a medicine cabinet, when a character opens and closes a door a bunch of times usually, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's a scary thing behind the door. Or horror movies make use of the mirror and have a character like bend in and out of the mirror's view, and then double boom, scary thing is behind them in the reflection, but of course, nothing is ever there when they turn around. A third variation is a character seeing a scary thing in the place of their own reflection. So many options. I don't know. It's one of those things, again, kind of going back to that collective experience with strangers in a darkened theater. Everybody knows as soon as a character in a horror movie starts interacting with a medicine cabinet or doing anything in front of a medicine cabinet, you know that something scary is going to happen. And even if nothing scary happens, you still have that buildup of tension because of all the times there's been something scary in the mirror of a medicine cabinet. The sheer power a medicine cabinet holds in a horror movie is unmatched. Another trope that I personally dislike, but I know a lot of people do like, is the killer doll, creepy doll trope. I'm sorry, they just don't do it for me. Maybe one day I will meet my match, but until then I will simply see them as a threat, easily handled. Grab the little fucker and light it on fire, rip it to shreds, lock it in a suitcase and sink it in the ocean. There's so many possibilities because most of the time the person fighting said doll is much bigger than the doll. But I digress. If you like creepy dolls, you do you. The last lovable horror trope for me is twist endings. I know, it's so cliche, but I love the twist ending. I usually never figure them out. I also am usually never trying too terribly hard to figure them out, but still. And they almost always give the film rewatchability once you know what is actually going on. The only downside to this trope is that it can be easily spoiled, which blows. And even if it isn't spoiled for you, once you know the ending, you can never go back to a time when you didn't. If neuralizers were a real thing, I would not use them for anything but erasing my own memory of certain films just so that I could watch them again for the first time. Now it's time for one last trope, and that is the one last scare trope. I hate it. I don't know what it is about this trope. Just every time it happens in a movie, just involuntarily I roll my eyes. I can't help it. I feel like it's genetic or something at this point. A lot of the time it's used as a cheap jump scare, and not a clever jump scare that I love, but one to just get that like last rise out of the audience right before the credits roll. And sometimes it directly contradicts everything that happened in the movie beforehand, which makes it even more infuriating. Although I will say I do like when horror movies take this trope and flip it on its head and play with it a little bit. If you're gonna be a little meta about it, that's fine. Other than that, could do without it forever. It goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Obviously, those were just my opinions and this is all for fun. Hopefully it also goes without saying to please, please, please share your favorite and least favorite horror movie tropes in the comments. And maybe I just had this idea, stroke of genius. If you share your favorite and least favorite tropes in the comments, maybe I will do a tier ranking video where I rank the horror movie tropes that you guys mentioned. I look forward to reading your comments, and if you ended up liking this video, which I hope you did, give it a thumbs up. It really does help me out. And if you're liking this video, you should also subscribe and become a creepy peep today. I promise, you won't regret it. I will see you very soon with a new video. Until then, stay strange. Bye.